Hello everyone, my name is Serafi and I'm happy to meet you all. Today is the first of my multiple videos celebrating my 1,000 subscriber milestone, where I'm just going to play Red Eyes for hours, basically. Alright, so this is the Raging Pendulum version of the deck. This is a deck that I thought was pretty cool. I really wanted to give it a try, and so I have built a version of the deck that I think is probably the most optimal 20 card list. And it's possible that 20 cards is just not feasible for this type of deck because I had no success with this at all. And for that reason, this is the first time I think in my entire channel history that I will be showcasing a loss in a deck guide video, because I didn't have any games playing this deck for an hour and a half that I felt like were good enough to showcase the actual strategy without me losing. So the skill is called Raging Pendulum. If you don't remember what it does, at the beginning of the duel, add pendulums to your field. The skill can only be used once per duel by revealing Odd Eyes Raging Dragon and Dark Rebellion Xyz Dragon from your extra deck. If you have 2 Perform Pal, Magician, or Odd Eyes cards in your Pendulum Zone, add 1 Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon and 1 Magician Pendulum monster from your deck to your hand. And then during this duel, you can treat Xyz monsters you control as level 7s when Xyz summoning Odd Eyes Raging Dragon. So the synergy here is twofold. Number one, you get the ability to Pendulum Summon Red Eyes, which is really nice. And number two, you get the ability to use Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragon to make Odd Eyes Raging Dragon, which gives Red Eyes a very powerful win condition. The ability to basically make Red Eyes Flare, use its effect, revive Red Eyes Black Dragon, and then just with those 2 cards immediately go into a card that blows up the entire field and attacks twice. That is power that Red Eyes lacks, and Red Eyes as a deck has always felt like the lack of a finisher was probably their biggest drawback. So this is what I think makes the deck so appealing in Duel Links. And then of course there's the fact that you just get to burn your opponent for like 700 damage. But the way that we use the skill is we're going to set the scales with Oath Dragon and Dragon Pit Magician. That gives us a scale of 2 and 8, which means that we can pen between 3 and 7, and then the rest of our deck is between 3 and 7. So for the main deck, we are playing 1 copy of Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon because we have to, 3 copies of Oath Dragon Magician. Oath Dragon Magician, the pendulum scale is if you have a Magician card in your other Pendulum Zone, you can add 1 face-up Magician or Odd Eyes Pendulum monster from your extra deck to your hand. So what that does is when you activate your skill and you play Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon and Dragon Pit Magician into your extra deck from your deck, then Oath Dragon will put 1 of them in your hand so that you can then pen both of them. Pretty nice. Perform Pal Skulker Bat Joker. This will draw you either your Oath Dragon Magician or your Dragon Pit Magician, whichever one you're missing. Dragon Pit Magician is a scale 8. Once per turn, if you have a Magician card in your other Pendulum Zone, you can discard 1 Pendulum monster, target 1 spell card on trap card on the field, and destroy it. So the nice thing about Dragon Pit Magician is that because you can use Pendulum Call, and Pendulum Call makes it so that your Pendulum cards cannot be destroyed by card effects for 2 turns, you can set the scales, and then you can use Dragon Pit Magician's effect to clear a back row before you have any cards on the board except for your 2 indestructible cards. So this card really helps you set up your board properly, which is nice. 3 copies of Red Eyes Black Dragon. We can't normal summon it without tributing, but we can Pendulum summon it. Summoner's Art draws Red Eyes. Pendulum Call, discard 1 card, add 2 Magician Pendulum monsters with different names from your deck to your hand. Also, until the end of your opponent's next turn after this card resolves, Magician cards in your Pendulum Zone cannot be destroyed by card effects. You can only activate 1 Pendulum Call per turn, and you can activate this card if you activated a Magician monster's Pendulum effect already. That doesn't prevent you from activating the effect afterwards, so you can still Oath Dragon. It just means that you can't use it with Wisdom Mind Magician, which is fair. Red Eyes Insight. Send 1 Red Eyes monster from your hand or deck to the graveyard to add 1 Red Eyes spell or trap card from your deck to your hand, except Red Eyes Insight. You can only activate 1 Red Eyes Insight per turn. Pretty nice. So you just mill 1 of your Red Eyes, and then you draw the Red Eyes Spirit, which is basically the best Red Eyes trap I can think of. I mean, I guess you play Red Eyes Fang with Chain, which would probably be... Maybe that's what the deck is missing. Maybe we should play Red Eyes Fang with Chain here, just because it gives us a little bit more removal, but I don't feel like that's really going to change much about what happened. All right, for the extra deck, we are playing Odd Eyes Raging Dragon. If you Xyz using an Xyz monster, then you get to destroy all cards on the field. You gain 200 attack points for each one, and then you get to attack twice. Pretty good card. Dark Arm, the Dragon of Annihilation. 2 or more level 7s. Once per turn, if you have exactly 5 dark monsters in your graveyard, you can also Xyz summon Dark Arm, the Dragon of Annihilation, by using a level 5 or higher dark dragon monster you control as material. So it is a way for you to get an Xyz monster on your board for your Raging Dragon if you have like an Red Eyes Black Dragon or an Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon on your board. You can attach one material from this card, target one card your opponent controls, destroy it, and then banish one card from your graveyard. Also, Dark Arm cannot attack for the rest of the turn. That's fine. Queen Dragoon Jin requires 2 level 4s. You can detach one material from this card, target a level 5 or higher dragon monster in your graveyard, special summon it, and it cannot attack this turn. Its effects are negated. So Jin's effect is pretty nice because it allows you to revive a Pendulum Dragon specifically. So your Flare Metal can get back all your copies of Red Eyes Black Dragon, but Queen Dragoon Jin is the only way that you can recover your Odd Eyes, which is kind of important. Dark Rebellion Xyz Dragon, you'll never summon this. It's just in there for the skill. Number 11, Big Eye, 2 level 7s. Once per turn, you can attach one material from this card, take control of one of your opponent's monsters, and this card cannot attack the turn you activate this effect. The take control is permanent, the monster's effects are still active, and you can still attack with the monster. It's insane. Volifernergy is the Darkest Dragon Doom Rider, 2 level 7s. Once per turn, you can attach 2 materials from this card, target one face-up monster card on the field, destroy it, and if you destroy a monster, you can make one face-up monster you control gain attack equal to the destroyed monster's original level or rank times 300 until the end of the next turn. This card cannot attack the turn you activate this effect, and it's a quick effect if it has a dragon monster as material, but it cannot be activated during the damage step, which is weird. I understand why they don't want it to be able to be activated during the damage step, but it is funny that they have to specify that because this card makes itself gain attack points. Alright, and then lastly, Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragon. 2 level 7s cannot be destroyed by card effects while it has Xyz material. While this card has Xyz material, each time your opponent activates a card or effect, inflict 250 damage to your opponent immediately after it resolves. And then once per turn during either player's turn, you can detach one material from this card, target one Red Eyes normal monster in your graveyard, and special summon it. So Flare Metal is our primary goal here. We're trying to get as many copies of it on the board as possible. You can basically just make 2 Flare Metals pretty easily as long as you have a Red Eyes in your graveyard, which is what the Red Eyes Insight is for. Yeah. Okay. So what is the problem with this deck? Why did I struggle to play with it? Why is it that I'm going to be spotlighting a loss? The main problem with this deck is that Book of Eclipse is very popular. And so this deck has absolutely no answer to being Book of Eclipsed. They just, you just lose the game. The other problem is that it's very resource intensive. You use up way too much of your hand to make this work. And then you have no follow-up at all. So your opponent will not usually beat you on turn 2 if you go first, but they will usually clear your board, and you don't have any of the typical recovery effects of a Pendulum deck because you used all your Pendulum monsters as Xyz material. So they go to the graveyard, and you don't have any ways to get them back from the graveyard. And you're really dependent on that extra card draw that you get at the start of the turn, but almost always the card that you draw is not going to be enough to win you, like to make any sort of play, because you are playing an Xyz deck. You need 2 cards. So, yeah. I feel like this isn't the right time for this deck. I feel like it's a good deck. I feel like, and that's why I was saying maybe it should be more than 30 cards, just so that you, or more than 20 cards, just so that you have maybe more draw, maybe you have some, like, back row that you can use. I'm not sure. These cards are all 20 of these cards are necessary to make the play work. So you would only be able to add cards, which make the deck less consistent, and that's the problem. But the deck is consistent and it loses, so I don't know. The other big issue is Battle Chronicle. Battle Chronicle has Cosmic Cyclone on a normal summon, which means that even against a deck that you could reasonably beat, just because of the way that it functions, your main benefit, which is that your Pendulum Scales can't be destroyed during your opponent's turn, is circumvented. So, yeah. Anyway, that's the deck. I hope you guys enjoy it. The deck is not expensive at all. You'll all probably have all of these cards already, except you might not have 3 copies of Oath Dragon Magician, depending on how many copies of that structure deck you got. But I mean, you could just play a 3rd copy of Perform Pal Skulker Bat Joker. I don't even have the 3rd copy yet. And let's take a look at the replay. So we are going first against Chronomly. All right, our hand is Summoner's Art, Pendulum Call, Oath Dragon, and Dragon Pit. And I saw that a lot. I saw that I would get Pendulum Call and then both copies of Oath Dragon and Dragon Pit, which kind of makes the... It's like, it's too consistent. But, I don't know. So I'll draw Red Eyes, I'll activate Pendulum Call, pitch the Red Eyes to draw the Dragon Pit and the Oath Dragon. We want Red Eyes in the graveyard. Set the scales with Dragon Pit and Oath Dragon, activate the skill, place the last Dragon Pit and the Odd Eyes in the extra deck. Then we activate Oath Dragon's Magician's effect to add Dragon Pit to our hand. Pend 4. Then we Xyz Summon. First Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragon, activate its effect, attach 1, revive the Red Eyes, and go into the second Flare Metal Dragon. And then we pass. It's our opponent's turn. Opponent's going to activate Hope-Filled Chronomaly. They pitch the Akambro Figures to add a card to their hand, and then they fill their extra deck. Pay 1,000 to activate Akambro Figures as effect, and now we go off. Every time they activate a card or effect, we're going to burn them for 500. He's down to 25. Activate Crystal Skull to search. Take another 500 down to 2,000. Normal summon Nebridisk search. Down to 1,500. Activate the skill. Change the level. Xyz. Chronomaly V Mana. Special summon Moai. Xyz. Chronomaly V Mana. But Chronomaly V Mana does not have enough attack points to beat over Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragon in defense position. The opponent's going to set 3, and then they're going to activate their effect, attach, take 250, 250, activate the effect, attach, take 250, 250. The opponent is now not able to activate any other monster effects until they destroy my Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragon, but they are able to. Now I'm in a weird position. You see that this card's attack points went to 2750. So if I had summoned both of my Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragons in attack position, I actually might have been able to win the game. But, I mean, probably not, because he could have made Chateau Hoyak, and that's part of the reason why I didn't. Why I didn't put them in attack position to begin with. So, because he can change the levels of his monsters on the fly, I don't think there was a way that I could have won here. And now we're at the problem where I mentioned. So I have my opponent down to 500 life points. I've got him in a really bad position, but every one of my pendulum monsters is in the graveyard now. So I can't pendulum summon. I draw Red Eyes Insight, I activate it, and I'm going to mill Red Eyes. My opponent Dark Bribes. I draw another Red Eyes Insight, which I can activate again because he negated the activation. I draw my Red Eye Spirit, I set it, he's going to Barrage Blast, he pops everything, and that's game. So there you go. That is how the deck works. That is how you can easily fill your board with Red Eyes Flare Metals that are unable to be destroyed by card effects, can revive monsters from the graveyard, burn your opponent every time that they activate a card, and you still lose to Book of Eclipse. My name is Serafi, and I was thrilled to have all of you with me.